Welcome back to Link's Awakening. We've now entered the first dungeon, Tail Cave.
Yep.
This game probably has some of the simplest dungeon designs in the series. I mean, at least early on. Like, nothing feels too cryptic in here, at least early on.
I was gonna say...
I got the compass already. I think that should be a good sign of things.
Yeah, the compass. I remember, even as a wee lad, dungeon... Oh, boy. Dungeon 4. No. Dungeon... Yes. One of them I had a really hard time with because one, I was a dumb child. But two, more importantly, after reading a Nintendo Power about it, I was like, huh, how the fuck was I supposed to know that?
I think it was probably Dungeon 7.
That sounds about right.
Did you beat the game?
Huh? Yeah.
Okay. Because Dungeon 7...
I lost the cartridge and my Game Boy, but at least I beat the game.
Dungeon 7, Eagle Tower, has this one spot where you need to throw this giant metal ball at these 4 pillars to make, like, the floor collapse. And
yeah,
nothing in the game tells you that.
Yeah, that's the one. And I was like, what?
Yeah, the last 2 dungeons I can't fucking stand, but... You know,
bless me.
they're pretty solid,
Bless you.
Wait, who was it that burped?
Me.
You'll never know. Ah, you ruined
Because if it was Nolan, I was going to say that he truly is Will's replacement.
Oh no.
I'm gonna have to pick up the slack of bodily sound effects.
Gabe, you're probably gonna... Hopefully you won't need to pick up the slack on wit, because...
No, listen, I didn't bring the wit anyway. What the fuck? That was
No. Will did. That's the point.
Yeah, I brought the loud. And the sex jokes. And I still bring those both. Oh, man. Man. You know. Man, that was a weird sound. Anyway. See those giant snake things that are rotating, but then you just killed like a monster?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. And maybe just because of the pattern it moves around. But it reminds me of one of the Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus. I think it's called the Sand Tiger. I can't remember.
Oh.
But it's the one that you have to fucking escape from while it burrows through the sand and tries to devour you.
Your boy still hasn't played Shadow of the Colossus.
Ooh, you should get on that.
You should really
Did you just
get on.
call me Evaniel?
I did. This is not the
That's
first
your
time
full
I've done
name. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Is that like
you have a full name.
is that like the fusion between me and my brother?
it. I guess so. Yeah, it's when you
I
wear
was
your,
trying to think of what would
clothes.
make a good full name if Evan was just a nickname, and I love that. My life is complete.
When I
Thanks, Gabe.
typically I kind of have a joking one. I typically call myself Evanson.
Maybe Evanescence.
Ooh.
Oh
Yeah,
my
there you
god!
I'm sure you've been called that before, Evan.
Evanson,
Not as
Evanson
often as
sounds
you
like
might
a
think.
lawyer.
Visit Evanson and Sons.
I would trust a lawyer named Evanson. I would go to you if I had like insurance problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's-
you know what they say, if you need legal assistance, you go to a guy named Evanson. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
That's right. This little snake boy. I love that little snake enemy. I don't even want you to hurt him. I just like him.
Yeah, he's fucking chilling, dude.
He makes
He's
me
got the
happy.
big eyes, too.
Look at him go.
And
Oh,
Evan
don't
is
you,
monster.
oh,
Monster.
what?
How did the sword go through the... What?
Because
Yeah, the sword is wider than one time. I'm surprised.
The sword is
Oh, it's
sharper
also-
than the mind.
This game's tile work in general is not what I would expect from the Game Boy. I remember earlier you had a point where you could only move diagonally across 2 tiles because there was a hole in the floor, and I'm surprised it even let you do that.
Yeah, this game,
Most of these games were locked to like tiles.
You know...
you saw the
for a
jump
second
cut,
I
I
thought-
died there. Yeah, this
you know,
game,
for a second I
this
thought you were
game's,
making a checkers joke.
has as smooth of movement as A Link to the Past, which was already surprisingly smooth for a SNES
Yeah.
game. Like, you know, it's like I always say I always give praise to like the Mother series because, you know, that always had 8-directional movement. Mother 1 is an NES game with 8-directional movement. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Directional.
Man, too bad that game is really hard to play
That
these
game
days. Not,
is
not gonna lie.
It's very archaic, but I have a huge
Oh.
soft spot for it.
I mean, I love Mother series. My Mother one is it's rough. Even as Earthbound Zero, it's rough.
That's
Yeah.
what dogs say.
I think it is too, but I do think it sets up the rest of the games well. I mean, the standalone, it's not the best in my opinion, but I like it as a part of the continuation of the series, or as a part of the series as a whole.
Yeah,
Sure,
and
sure.
also Carrie especially appreciates it because
Yeah.
she did something that most people who have experienced the Mother series in the US have not, and it's that she saw the first game before the second.
Yes. I think
Saw,
that was-
not just played. Like you didn't know what it looked like at all.
Well, she doesn't really play games a lot. She likes to watch
Okay.
people instead.
Yeah,
so,
I don't
like-
play video games.
So, like, you know, like, Gygas, for example, everyone thinks, like, Cosmic Horror, Monstrosity, Eldritch Abomination, whatever, and then they see the first game's like, oh, it's Mewtwo. But Terry saw the first game first, and then, like, witnessed what he had become after, like, as, like, an afterward thing. It wasn't, like, a retrospective kind of thing.
Okay.
I think that was really important in appreciating what the first one could offer.
I think it's really interesting when people get to play stuff out of order too. Like my girlfriend just played Red Dead Redemption 2 without knowing anything about the first one, and it's a prequel. But I've never been able to watch them play that game without knowing. Like the story is almost written in a way that like presumes that you already know what it's leading towards, so it's very ominous. But as someone who didn't know that, you know, it's totally fresh for her, and it was really interesting. So it's kind of cool for, I'm sure, Mother too, in a different way, of course,
Yeah.
but similar.
On that note, like, I typically like to experience new series in release order, but on the
Same.
note of one that I did experience out of order, playing Metal Gear 2, like after playing Metal Gear Solid is interesting because it like shows you how much Solid actually borrowed from and improved on that game.
Yeah, it's actually like crazy. Mechanics came out of the MSX games before he got 3D.
Yeah, although I didn't need to be reminded of the fucking shape memory card, whatever.
Man, Metal Gear 2. What a weird. The MSX games are so strange, especially because like Metal Gear Solid MGS5 wraps around back into the MSX games, which I did not expect at all when I played that.
So the thing about like I don't think Metal Gear 1 has aged particularly well, but I do think Metal Gear 2 is a pretty solid experience.
If you
see what I did
need it
there?
on its own
Solid.
terms, it seems so clunky. Yeah.
1 is very clunky.
Here's the thing for old games for me, and this is just about going back and playing RPGs and older games in general. It took me until I was older to be able to go back to the generations that came before my childhood and actually appreciate those games. Because my first console was the Sega Genesis, but I really came into my own with a GameCube. So like, even though I had Genesis, the first time in my life where I was actually going to the store and buying games, because when I had a Genesis, they were already off the shelf, right? So
yeah,
the first time where I was paying attention to games was with the GameCube. And it was incredibly difficult for me to go back after that until I got older and got into video games enough to be able to like appreciate them historically. But before then, these old games, they just like weren't fun for me when I was younger. So I don't have a lot of experience with anything lower than 16-bit.
I can kind of get what you're saying. As my first system
but
was...
now I love this stuff now. It took age.
Yeah, from like my first system was also Genesis, but in my case, it was like you know, in my case it was I didn't really like feel that same sentiment because I was just so goddamn obsessed with the early Sonic games that it's like it was all I was ever thinking about that you know, it just wasn't the same actor for me. But another thing is like that's just what it's like being like a kid with autism is that if you find something you like, it's probably the only thing you're thinking about for a very long time.
Yeah.
But it's, like honest, if you haven't got it yet though, I do recommend checking out the Genesis Mini though because it's got a very very solid lineup on it.
You know what happened to mine?
What happened?
I was gone for like 2 weeks, and my stepdad, he sold it in a garage sale. And I came back and tried to look for it in the garage, and it wasn't there, and I was devastated, and I've never bought one since then. And I was probably no, like my Genesis.
Oh, the original system.
I think I was 9 or 10. And like my mom and him had been dating for a while before and whatnot, but like now he moved in and we lived in a house together, and just I was gone over the weekend in a garage sale. He sold my frickin' Genesis.
Oh my!
And I haven't had one since then. So,
but
you know,
I seriously recommend picking up the Mini, because again, it's got 42 games on it, two of which aren't even actual Genesis games, and a couple others that you're not getting on an actual Genesis, like Mega Man: The Wily Wars, released through their fucking streaming service.
It's actually called The Wily Wars?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's like, you know, it was released outside in the US, like not the case in Japan and Europe, they got an actual cart, but in the US it was released through this Sega channel, this streaming service thingy that like ran on the Genesis hardware. You could use it to download games, and it completely fell into obscurity because these days it's actually impossible to get. But
yeah,
the release on the Genesis Mini is apparently actually the original American ROM, which is really impressive because due to the status of what kind of release it was, an American ROM has never been dumped on the internet before.
Wow.
Like, you know, if you wanted to play it in English, you were stuck with the slower European version.
Oh, I forgot. European games of that era had different frame rates, didn't they?
Yeah, because they
What's up with that?
they performed at a different output.
Weird. Okay, so what was everyone's first console? I'm really curious.
As I said, for me it was Genesis. What about you, Gabe?
Right, same, yeah.
I don't remember.
And then Kari, or Carrie, not Kari. You don't play games too much, so did you
No,
have one when you were a kid?
Do handhelds count as
I'd say they
consoles
count.
or no?
Yeah, I say.
Well, the first one that I played was actually a PlayStation 1 that was my friend's brother's when I was 6 years old. And then the first one that I had was the Game Boy Advance SP. Actually, no, it was a regular Game Boy Advance. Sorry, it was a regular Game Boy Advance without the screen light or anything.
GBA
and that was where I played Hamtaro.
Yeah.
Hey.
GBA is an interesting system because it had such a wide lineup of games despite its lifespan being unusually short.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just a few years later and the DS was already out.
I think I played all of my childhood SNES games on my GBA. I don't think I played a single one on a TV. I'm sure that was really
invigorating as a kid, but I would not recommend it in the long run.
Well, for me it was this weird, like, I had this weird Chimera video game thing going on where I had a Game Boy player at the same time as I got my Game Boy.
Yeah, that was.
So I played a lot of Game Boy games, but I played all of them on my TV though.
That was the only one I was playing them too. But no, I was getting more at the fact that, like, you know how like most actual like GBA ports of SNES games are pretty inferior. Yeah,
there's a lot missing, but
I feel like Nintendo did a pretty good job with them, but other companies were less than stellar at them. Like the GBA port of Sonic 1 is abysmal. Well,
Sonic I had on cartridge because my Genesis. I played a lot of those, but I don't think I ever beat any of them when I was a kid. I specifically remember in Sonic 3 getting to the first water level over and over and never passing it.
Oh, Hydra City.
Yeah, I never passed Hydra City as a kid. I didn't beat that until years later.
Water levels in Sonic, like if it's your first one, they're they're outright traumatizing.
Yeah.
Although
even in Mania, I hated them.
I
still beat them, but.
My first water level, because I played 2 first, and that was Chemical Plant. I actually managed to get through that without any trouble, but then there was Aquatic Ruin, which I did not have a lot of fun with. But God forbid anybody who played Labyrinth as a kid. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, I have been so zoned out, I just realized you're jumping. That's crazy for a Zelda game.
Yes. In this game, like, Dungeon 1's power-up is known as the Rock Feather, and it gives you the ability to jump.
I like how you do a full somersault in the air when you jump over that pillar.
Link wants to look stylish.
Oh. And you land on your feet perfectly and can swing the
Oh
sword.
my god,
right?
he's already dead. This poor man.
Wow.
There you go.
I think that was a Moogle.
Yeah. Oh god, would that even? I mean, have they ever crossed over Nintendo and Square like that?
I'm sure they have, but nothing that comes to my mind, at least. And they give you a little teleporter thing like most Zelda games do.
Right. Junk.
This is very straightforward. Once you get to the mini-boss, you know, it's just like you go into this side-scroller area.
That is so dark for a Zelda game.
It looks like fucking Castlevania.
Seriously.
It's those wall candles. I think I said that the last time something looks like
I like
Castlevania.
how right after the mini-boss is the actual boss room. And it's Moldorm. Fuck this guy.
No time to recover.
He's not actually that bad in this game, but, you know, like, A Link to the Past, you know, I still have the memories, the nightmares of fighting that guy falling off the edge and having to do the fight all over again. But anyway, we beat, we beat the dude and we got the full moon cello.
Dun-dun-dun.
Man, I mean, if that thing keeps flashing like that, it's gonna go fucking
Oh,
hypersonic.
here it is again, Carrie, the tune that everyone knows.
No, this is a different
Everybody, every
This is a
single
different-
person in the
No,
world who
no,
has
this
lived,
is-
currently lives, and
This
will
is a
ever live.
different- No, wait, this is.
It's the same song. It's the same song. It's
Oh,
Ballad
this
of
is
the
this
Windfish.
is the swamp song. This is swamp song. Clearly.
The swamp song. Yeah.
Hey now, you're a rock star. The show on.
It's All Star.
Hey,
Yeah, it's the swamp
you're a
song.
rock star.
Oh
my God, you're right.
Oh my god, that took me too long. Please excuse me while I go sit and while I go commit soup of slide.
See, yeah, serious slide time.
Go commit Sudoku.